Welcome back to Liberty and Finance. We're here back with our weekly market update with Miles Franklin CEO Andy Schectman. Andy, thanks for coming back on this Thursday, December 17, 2020.
Finish line's in sight. Good to see you, Dunagun. Thanks for having me back.
People were pretty excited to see about that we're starting these weekly update series. I will have to warn everybody, because we have the holidays coming up for the next 2 weeks, we'll be taking the next 2 weeks off, which is Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. We'll be back in January, starting again with our weekly market updates. So Andy, can you hit us with what you're seeing action right now in the silver and gold markets that people need to understand, because there is a lot happening in the last couple of days here in this middle of December.
Yeah, over the weekend I saw an article that the German retailers in the precious metal space are running out of product. We've seen a tightness in the premiums all of a sudden, and it's something that I was a little surprised by, that it looks as though the product is starting to get a little bit more difficult to come by. You're going to see the premiums start to rise. I'm looking around at all the companies out there, and it appears as though they've already set that in motion as we see rising premiums. And we talked about in our last discussion that we typically see in November, the end of November, the market sell off as books are balanced, and we see December being a market where the prices start to rise. And lo and behold, here we are today. Silver's up 60 cents, gold's up $20. It's been very strong this week. And so you put it all together, you see tightening premiums industry-wide. You see prices starting to rise. I think that we could very well see a very strong finish here to the year. And so, look, I'll put it to you this way. One of the things that I think is important to note on this side of the table is that our business is arguably most strong when the price falls. And we get great volume as the price corrects. And when the price is up $20, it's not like our phones are blowing up off the hook. What I'd like to simply say to the people out there right now is that get your product while the availability is good. The market has a mind of its own and is being directed independent of what the retail business in the United States is doing. That's the icing on the cake. But what I will tell you is that you're beginning to see what I think is a trend of higher prices for the price that for silver and gold. But also, we're beginning to see rising premiums. And that's an ominous sign when you see it starting across the pond in Germany. And now here, we're beginning to see premiums rise. Then again, you and I have noticed premiums kind of hit bottom around Thanksgiving, and now we're starting to creep up again. So business is strong, demand is strong, but I would say to most people out there listening, or to everyone out there listening rather, that the market will define itself before this is all said and done with a very great difficulty in obtaining product. And that I've been consistent on saying, and that is something I do believe. Look, at this point right now, availability is still good, and the premiums aren't crazy. But by the looks of things, as we see prices increase, as we see more trouble in the economy moving into 2021, as right now I just read that 36% of all small businesses in the United States aren't able to pay their December rent. We are not out of the woods yet by a long stretch of the imagination. And when we talk about as it relates to product in this industry, Dunagun, I think that right now it's still available and the premiums aren't outrageous. But I can see by what we see, whether it be in Germany or right here on the wholesale side of things, premiums are starting to rise. Product is becoming more difficult to get. And I think we'll look back at these prices here at the end of 2020 and the availability and realize that it was really a great opportunity to pick things up, because I do believe both will be distant memories when we look back at Q1 2021, both in price and in what is available with a reasonable premium.
Yeah, the premium's the part about that not everybody sees on a daily basis. If they're watching the news and they're seeing the spot price move, they don't realize that the premium can move independently of the spot price, and it's been fairly low for the last month and a half or two compared to earlier in the year. Two things you said I wanted to hit back on. Alistair McLeod talked to us about how the banks are finding themselves short, well, not finding themselves, the banks are, a lot of them bullion banks are heavily short on COMEX, and therefore to make their books look not so bad, by the end of November, beginning of December, they had to basically get the price down on gold and silver so that their short didn't hurt them so much on their books. Now that window dressing is done, and now it can be off to the races. Also, speaking with multiple clients who have asked me questions about should they wait for a dip or wait for a market crash to buy, and I said there probably will come a dip, there probably will come a market crash. From what height to what depth, we don't know. And what will the availability be then? What will the premiums be then? Because that's what we saw back in March when the silver got smashed down to $12. You're still selling people all over all dealers, American Silver Eagles and so on, couldn't be had for less than like $24, $25.
Let me just address that question, if I may, or that point. Look, who's to say that the correction is a violent one? And I mean, look, we hit highs in August, and we've fallen down since August, and you could argue that the slow bleed that from 30 down to where we are now, or where we were down to 23 or so, and then climbing back up to where we are now at 26, that was the correction. And the bargain hunters did use that opportunity not only to cash settle issues on COMEX and to shake people from the tree, but to acquire the cheap products slowly and methodically, rather than in our mind's eye we see every correction being a violent one. It doesn't have to be a V shape, it could be a U shape. The point of it is that I think we're looking at a market that's just blown through technical resistance to the upside, and it's blown through the 50-day moving average, and it's already above the 100 and 200, and that's a big deal from a technical standpoint. Also, when we look at it from where it's been over the past 5 years, every single year since 2015, it's the same pattern: sell off into December and move up to the end of the year. The next contract, I believe, the January contract settles in February. So you have plenty of time now for the market to express itself before, once again, the central bankers come, or the commercial bankers rather, come in and try to whitewash things for the options to expire worthless and to shake people from the tree for taking delivery. So I expect higher prices into the first quarter. And you throw into the mix all of the money creation. You put it all together. The physical supply of product done again. It's a grain of sand in the desert. It's nothing. And so at some point, the realization from people that this is not only a island of opportunity, but also of safety and privacy and all of the things that we've talked about ad nauseum, the benefits of owning precious metals. When the public wakes up to this, and whether it be a market correction or whatever the catalyst is, something like we saw in March with massive Main Street demand, this is a market where I think premiums will only go higher from here. Mm-hmm. And waiting for a pullback is a big mistake, because arguably that's already happened. At least in terms of technical analysis, I would argue it's already happened, and we're already on our way back up. The piercing of the 50-day moving average, the piercing of 26, that resistance level that it's really hit its head against now for quite some time, could forestall for much higher prices. So I guess we'll see. But in general, in this industry, waiting for a pullback is very difficult to do. And if you are going to do it, then you pick a number and you act upon it swiftly, because there are a lot of people doing the exact same things. There are a lot of people who have limit orders in place where it hits that number and it moves immediately in after-hour tradings in the middle of the night or what have you. And very often those people who are looking to take advantage of a pullback like we saw in March, within a few days of that happening, you couldn't find anything for under $20. So it's kind of like catching a falling knife and getting lucky at the same time. You have to get lucky that you hit it at the right time where the premiums haven't taken off. Mm-hmm. But we can see they already are starting to firm up. And the firming up of the premiums ahead of a spike in price is not a good sign for those people that are waiting for, or have been waiting to secure things, waiting for that pullback.
Yeah, it's interesting because I remember talking with people on a live chat during a recent interview where they were addressing this issue of should I wait for a dip? And as you had said, maybe we've just seen it. And the thing that we can't, I reminded them that I can't do is, for any price, is sell them a time machine to come back to these calm times. And something we should not neglect to mention during this week, if this is a weekly market update, is the breakout of Bitcoin to all-time nominal highs this week. We talked last week about how there's plenty of chatter about, from pretty high sources, saying Bitcoin is the new gold, Bitcoin is gold 2.0, and so on. But the fact that Bitcoin, you've mentioned everything about market dynamics having to do with metals this week. What about the breakout of Bitcoin? Why now? Any ideas why the dollar alternatives are all waking up at the same time?
Well, I mean, there's never been more reason to look for alternatives, not only to the dollar, but I think a lot of it has to do with I think it's the Banking for All Act. I mean, the talk of a digital currency, the talk of inflation. I mean, I think, you can say what you want about the younger generation, the millennials. It seems to me that in some respects they're more in tune than the rest of us to the need to de-dollarize, the need to find some sort of decentralized currency or decentralized form of exchange. And I'm obviously the wrong person to ask as it pertains to Bitcoin, because I'm really not educated in it well enough to make an opinion on it one way or the other. But I will tell you, I find it to be logical that it's happening. And I think anything right now, alternatives to fiat currency right now, to see them expressing themselves is logical. And I think you'll see that more and more and more as the Fed continues to print more and more and more. And owning currency will be a somewhat of a hot potato type of an environment where you see asset prices start to really rise in that environment where people don't want to hold money in dollars or in the banks and are looking for alternatives. So, I think Bitcoin is for real. It's here to stay, and it'll probably go higher. I just to me it will never be gold. It'll be an investment, and it's proving to be a heck of a one, Dunagun. And I'd love to hear your opinion on it, to be honest with you.
Well, one of the things that just is echoing in my mind is because we just interviewed the Aiden sisters from the Aiden Forecast, and they're talking about this super cycle that's going on with. They mentioned about gold when we had them on last quarter. Now they're talking about it's this loss of confidence and the precipitously dropping dollar, which they continue to expect will continue to drop further, is showing up, and you mentioned inflation as well, in rising commodities, construction materials, all kinds of other things.
It's a hot potato.
Yeah, so that's interesting, and Bitcoin is certainly a headline dollar alternative as well. In the face of all of that, you keep striving to come out with low entry points, easy entry points for people by having a weekly special. The current weekly special, can you tell us what that's about so people understand what the current promotion is?
Yeah, they're pre-1965 U.S. constitutional half dollars at $1.75 over silver spot per ounce. Each coin is about a third of an ounce. I think you'll find that they are beyond competitively priced throughout the industry, maybe less expensive than anywhere you'll find. And I think every family member should own at least a half a bag or a bag if you have the wherewithal to do it, or for that matter, any amount of pre-65 coinage. But if you're out there and you own a good deal of silver, every family member should have at least a 500 face value dollar bag of pre-65 coinage, and it would get you through tough times. It would provide for the ability to barter, to trade, and it's U.S. coinage issued by the Treasury, not by the Federal Reserve. So it's something I think that everyone should own, and I'm glad that we have the ability to continue to offer them while supplies last. And it's definitely, as far as specials go, it's a good one.
Last week we had you on Thursday for the weekly market update and special. We put it was out the Canadian Call of the Wild silver coins. Friday we were filled with orders. By Friday night they had sold them all out. So it was supposed to run through Saturday, but Saturday we had to tell everybody, sorry, they're all sold out. So folks, don't let this get away from you. One of the things I wanted to follow up from a personal experience about recognizability of U.S. constitutional silver, as you mentioned, it's like people, one of the things they tout about Bitcoin is that there's only 21 million Bitcoin that there can ever be. Well, these are done. They minted these through 1964, and they're done. There's no more 90% constitutional silver that have been minted since. There's a limited fixed supply of those. The half dollars are even a little bit less common than the dimes and quarters. So, and when people look at them, when we talk to clients about recognizability, I always encourage them to think, don't just think about what you like or what you want to buy, but think about the next person. Think strategically, think ahead. How will the next person know that they should, in a time when there may be civil breakdown or there may be financial strains, when people are worried about trust, what can they trust? Whom can they trust? But they want to be able to trust this thing as being authentic and being real. You can look at these things and they're worn from years and years of actual circulation use. You can't counterfeit that. People recognize these from their childhood. They are, as you mentioned, government minted, so they know the source, and also the small size makes them have high utility for trading.
And the half dollar, I'll tell you, most people who were born past 1990 have never seen a half dollar before. So they're not very common in circulation now. Any half dollars. So I don't know if there are any out there. I haven't seen any in forever. When you get change, you never get a half dollar. And so they have a unique appeal to them, I think, more than the dimes and the quarters. And at this price, they're priced below what you can normally buy dimes and quarters for. It's really the whole concept of a special is to try to offer something unique. Last week, at a good price. I get that. And last week, the Call of the Wild silver coins, they should have sold out immediately. They were, in my opinion, the finest silver bullion product, and the Call of the Wild gold, the finest I've ever sold in 30 years. I mean that. The 5.9 pure gold and the 4.9 pure limited edition silver, that's as good as it gets. And that's why we listed it at a special price. This is the opposite end of the spectrum. And, it gets the bad name of being called junk silver. This is anything but, and I think everyone should own some. Everyone, no matter how much silver you own, a bag or a half a bag. And in this industry, a bag denotes the term 1,000 face. But you could buy 100 face. You could buy 250 face, 500 face, 50 face, whatever you want. Everyone should own some. And it not only is it a piece of Americana, but it's the most utilitarian form of silver you can own. It allows you the ability to trade, to barter. It's liquid, it's flexible, and it's sought after. And we will always buy it back sight unseen, which is important. We'll always provide a two-way market if you want to turn it around for fiat and buy something else. So I think this is as good of a choice for a special, and at a special price, because I think everyone should own it.
Even for people who are wanting to play the gold for silver ratio, if people believe that silver is going to go up multiples of what gold is during this bull market, and they eventually want to end up back in gold, it's still a way that they can participate in that regards as well.
And I've seen a few times, Dunagun, I don't remember what year it was, but there was a period of time 8-10 years ago where I called everyone that I'd ever sold junk silver to and said, you need to sell it to me right now, because I can sell you Australian kangaroos and Canadian maple leafs, and you'll walk away getting more if we trade it. In other words, you can trade me a bag of junk silver for 715 ounces, and I'll give you back 800 maple leafs.
Because the premium was there to support that.
It was there. So that's the thing about these, that there was a period of time where people were very concerned about the need to barter. And junk silver bags went to the moon. And you'll see that again. You don't see that in silver bars, but you'll see it in junk silver. And so you do get kind of a free call on that premium potential at the same time. You're right. Wonderful to do that, the gold to silver swap, maximize the amount of silver you get. And what's very interesting about junk silver and every other facet of precious metals, the smaller the unit, the higher the premium.
True.
And with junk silver, it's the opposite of that. And it shouldn't be, because it offers you such great utility and such great flexibility. So in any case, I think it truly.
Well, Andy, I know we're both drowning in things to do, and just appreciate you taking time out of your day here to give us this weekly market update. We want to keep them tight and concise for people so that they can get an understanding of what's going on. Just thank you for joining us this Thursday, December 17, 2020.
Thank you, Dunagun. I appreciate that very much, and I always look forward to being with you and look forward to picking back up where we left off after the first of the year. And happy, healthy holidays and happy, healthy New Year to you and yours and everyone out there, and look forward to picking up with you bright and early January 1 or thereabouts after.
Very good. That's for weekly market updates, but you aren't off the hook for our 2020 year in review. Folks are going to be submitting questions for that, and we'll see you tomorrow for that.
look forward to it. Thanks.
Take care. If you've decided that now is the right time for you to protect your family's financial future by acquiring physical precious metals, gold and silver, I'm delighted to let you know that I have now become a licensed dealer's representative for Miles Franklin, one of the oldest and most trusted names in bullion dealerships. And we can provide you with physical delivery to your personal possession or to professional vault storage or precious metals IRAs. Just email me at libertyandfinance@protonmail.com, and please include your name and phone number in your email to libertyandfinance@protonmail.com. We'll get right back with you and find out how to best meet your needs so that you can either begin or increase your acquisition of physical precious metals now and protect your family's future starting today. To acquire gold and silver, just go to libertyandfinance.com. When the main site comes up, click on Bullion Sales. That's libertyandfinance.com, Bullion Sales. You'll see my name, Dunagun Kaiser, my phone number, and my associate, Kaiser Johnson, his phone number, our email, libertyandfinance@protonmail.com.